Hello friends. Today's topic of discussion is on sampling technique and this is part 1. It will continue up to part 2. So what are the different types of sampling techniques? Number 1 is probability sampling technique and the next one is non-probability sampling techniques. So we have to know about both probability and non-probability sampling techniques. So regarding the probability sampling techniques, let us see the classification. Number 1, simple random sampling, which is the most common and the most authentic among the probability sampling techniques. Number 2 is stratified sampling. Number 3, cluster sampling. Number 4, multi-stage sampling. So probability sampling technique can be classified into 4 parts: simple random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling and the multi-stage sampling. And this type of sampling techniques are used in different types of research work. So simple random sampling, and what is that? In this sampling technique, each number of the population has an equal chance of being selected. That means if the total number of the population is 100, then from 1 to 100 each and everybody can be selected or may be selected. It depends upon the randomness of the research worker. The most popular approach of this is the use of a table of random numbers. Generally, what is usually done, there is a big table with random numbers and the research worker arbitrarily or randomly picks up the sample by going up and down, right and left of that particular number of table with the numbers. Otherwise, if the total population is of 100 person, then the research worker may think that among 100 person, 60 will be the sample for the research. Now, each and every person of that particular population is given a serial number, like person number 1, serial number 1, person number 2, serial number 2, likewise up to 100. And all those numbers are written on a paper and it is folded and kept on a basket or a jar. Now the research worker will randomly select 60 papers from that jar, and the numbers that are into the within the selected arena, only those person having those serial numbers can be taken as a sample. This is the way how simple random sampling is done, and for that reason it has been written here that each number of the population has an equal chance of being selected. That means if the person or the research worker picks up the sample number 45 or the serial number 45, then the person with the serial number 45 had the chance to be picked up or to be included as the sample. So this is considered to be the most authentic one. Now the stratified sampling. In stratified sampling technique, populations are derived into homogeneous, non-overlapping groups, selecting a sample from each group. That means in this case, the population will be homogeneous. That means all will be women, all will be men or all will be human, and one sample has been selected from each and every group. On the other hand, on the other words, it is the method of sampling from a population which can be partitioned into subpopulation. That means a big population can be divided into various subpopulations, and from each and every subpopulation some sampling has been done. Cluster sampling. This is the third one. So the smallest unit into which a population can be divided are called the groups of element of the cluster. It includes dividing the whole population in cluster. That means if there is a whole population of 100, then some clusters can be made of 10 person each. So the total 100 population is divided into 10 a person each cluster. 10 a person included in cluster. That means 10 clusters, each cluster containing 10 person. Randomly sample clusters. Now from these 10 clusters, some clusters will be randomly sampled, measured all units within the sample cluster, definitely because the samples represents the characteristics of the population. So what is the aim of the study? That will be totally performed by using the population of the sample of those clusters, and this technique is generally used to reduce the cost of the research. Yes, it is very cost friendly type of sampling. And the last one is multi-stage sampling. It involves combining various probability techniques in the most efficient and effective manner possible. The process of estimation is carried out stage by stage. The procedure can be easily generalized to 3 or more stages and hence known as multi-stage sampling. That means different types of research work need different types of techniques. Maybe there is a particular type of research work which needs random sampling technique, maybe in some stage, in some phase of that research work, cluster sampling. So when different stage by stage sampling techniques are involved, then it is called multi-stage sampling, and it is in the most efficient and the effective manner. It is very important. It is done in the most efficient and most effective manner possible. That means with minimized amount of error. Now, what are the advantages of probability sampling technique? Number one, it minimizes the chance of systematic errors because all different types of sampling techniques are totally controlled by the mathematics, and they are usually done stage after stage. So in this case, the percentage of error or the systematic error percentage minimizes. It also minimizes the chance of sampling bias. Now, what is sampling bias? Sampling bias occurs when the sampling frame and the population are not consonant, means it's not same. Means, suppose a research worker is aimed to do the research on the senior citizens, like the people who are above 60 years of age. But by chance, a person is included in the sample whose age is not attained that level. That means maybe 58 or 57. But the research worker was aimed to do the research only the person with above 60 age. So in this case, that person who is not attained the particular age for the inclusion as a sample will be known as the sample bias. So this type of sample bias actually causes the error in the result. So in this type of probability sampling technique, because it's very much mathematical in nature, and it's done step by step or stage after stage, so there is a minimum chance of having the sample bias. A better representative sample is produced, definitely, because the sampling technique is it has been done in a very careful manner. Inferences drawn from sample are generalized to the population, definitely, because the samples are chosen from the population and they bear the same characteristics of the population. Now, what are the disadvantages of the probability sampling technique? The technique needs lots of effort, definitely, because different types of sampling methods are involved here, like simple random technique, then cluster sampling, then multi-stage sampling, and a person or a research worker may need some experts for that. So, and if there is no experts, even if the research workers want to do everything by himself or herself, then a toiling effort is involved in all this method, doing this probability sampling technique. The second one is lots of time is required, definitely, from choosing the samples from a definite population, so that each and every sample have the chance to be included, to be in the research worker, is a very important thing, and for that reason the research worker have to give enough time. It is expensive in nature. In every section of the research where the proper mathematical, proper sensitive type of stages of sampling is involved, it always requires some expense in extra. So now it's your time to test yourself. So these are the questions given. You have to make the answer by your own. All the answers you will get in the video. So thank you very much for your patient listening. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe to get the notification of the daily uploaded educational videos in my channel. Keep in touch. So long. Bye bye.